Thank you for joining. My name is Laura, and I will be your moderator today. Today's session has 3 presentations. The first one will be openBIM for steel construction fabrication. Then we'll have enabling timber construction prefabrication through openBIM, and then building domain, town hall, and project update. The speakers for this session are shown on the screen. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent. And standards that developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of the antitrust code of conduct. And now I would like to hand over to Luc.
Okay, we'll have, that's hot, Mike. We'll have 3 sessions today, probably a half hour for the first 2 or so, and then we'll have a town hall. So we'll start with our steel construction with Andreas Geiger and Luke Faulkner, and then we'll move into timber construction, and Rebecca will talk about that, I think, among other things. And then we'll have a little town hall at the end, talk a little bit about what's been going on in the building room, what's gone on this week, building domain, and talk a little bit about the future. So with that, I'll leave it to you, Luke.
See if I learned a lesson from this mic. Okay, that's reasonable. I'm going to provide a little bit of background information on the openBIM for Steel project, and not too much ancient history on it, but a little bit about where we've started and why we continue on with this. A lot of it has to do with the automation of steel fabrication. Many years ago, when we started this project, we identified a lot of different exchange models that you could use in steel. The one that the American Institute of Steel Construction really focused on was the exchange for steel fabrication, because we see an industry that's getting a lot more automated. And automation is not quite as easy as it sounds. The machinery we're using looks different than it ever used to. And we have a lot of different file types that we would use to manage steel fabrication. So these are all cumbersome. You know, we don't, to send a model directly to fabrication, you might use CIS2 files, IFC files, CNC or NC1 files, KISS. They were used, proprietary file formats for all the different machinery that existed. And all of these take effort to manage. So you don't just have a simple, you're not just able to simply send the file quite as easily as you might like and have automated steel fabrication. While we have a labor crunch and automation sounds great, it kind of opens up an additional bottleneck. So that's why we focused so hard on an MVD at the time that would allow for IFC files, one file type, to be able to be pulled and manage steel fabrication. It ended up being not probably quite as easy as we had hoped. We had kind of a custom extension of IFC. We saw not quite as much uptake from the industry as we had hoped. A few machinery manufacturers introduced translators. Software happened to be very cooperative, but you know, we had a little bit of a struggle. What we additionally figured out was that we had a goal in mind when we created the Steel MVD, which was if we could have this represent maybe 80% of the fabrication operations, we will have been pretty successful, and we won't worry about the last 20%. That proved to be a bit of a mistake, and that kind of is what leaves us where we are today, which is trying to figure out how to get the last 20% or last, I was about to say mile, but we're in Europe, so the last couple of kilometers closed here, so that almost all the operations can be covered. We had found along the way, I think Andreas will probably talk about it, like things that were as simple as bolt holes that seemed very obvious to us were not quite as easy in the previous version of IFC. So we are left trying to update for both IDS, I guess we can get into the specifics of, what was in the MVD before, but left to both update for more current versions of IFC rather than 2.3, and to try and cover and that would allow us to cover some of the operations that were not covered before and have a more complete fabrication exchange. Mirabek, do you want, or am I turning it to you and then Andreas? Okay. Yep, go ahead.
So I guess Andreas, anyways, good morning, everyone. Andreas will anyways cover that part. So we had, we started with a whole BSI process, meaning that we had an activity proposal within building domain. That was a time when we had a room and activity proposal so far turned out to be now. Detailed project, we work hard on that, and detailed project proposal contains all the steps that we wanted to cover with. So it means checking previous schema and current schema, means current IFC 4 and IFC 4.3. That gaps that we analyzed and needed to be filled. So we have to work and proceed with our idea. Within a working group in Germany and some experts outside, we had a chance to work on some 2 cases, like just capture requirements, client requirements, and capture requirements from architects and civil engineers and structural engineers who are dealing daily basis with steel fabricators. So it means you need to have a basic information. We run expert panel capturing that requirements, and of course from outside the world of buildingSMART. And the result, we had 2 use cases. One use case is still under development because we had something to fulfill. The first one is there, and it contains also ideas. The first draft, I would call it. And as you can see, it's IFC based, it's openBIM based model transmission from architects to steel fabricators. It's a really simple one. If you check the requirements, you will see that we have only like basics without mechanical fasteners, without some that usually architects provide to steel fabricator. And that's what you can check. The translation will be published sometime soon. Second use case that we were working will cover ideas, but as a first step, we had to cover bSDD for that, because you need to have a specific classification, you need to have a specific mapping with IFC, current schema, and of course, missing property sets properties. So that property sets properties with the help of DSDV working group, jointly with buildingSMART working group, Steel Construction Fabrication, we worked on a dictionary. That dictionary is now published, as you can see. And in previous sessions, building domain sessions, I was mentioning not IFC is a single source truth, but bSDD, because in bSDD you have IFC schema as well. You can map that you use it as a basis for your creation of your models and also for your IDS. As you can see at the right side, we put information from bSDD, from IFC dictionary, from this dictionary, combine them, and all other maybe related dictionaries, A-Team, Uniclass, E-Class, whatever, into IDS, and it's there. So what are the next steps of this project? We need to we have to go through some steps, update timeline, update some, work packages, and we are hoping we will send it back to building domain for another review, and then hopefully it will be reviewed by the SCT and the standards committees. So now I will punctually give a microphone to Andreas, who will explain more. Maybe microphone to Andreas and explain you more stuff in detail, what we have done so far.
Yes, hello. My name is Andreas Geiger from Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. And the focus of this activity is now closer. So no, okay, is focused on the last step in the row. We have seen this long list of different AMs. It's the last one, AM 11, and the aim is we have to bring the steel components to the machinery. So we have the digital twin and at the end, the different machinery. So the whole activity was initiative by the IT committee of Bauforum Stahl, a German steel community. And you can see here a list of the active participants we're working with, from research to software companies and as well the machine suppliers. So what was the motivation for that project? We have an existing standard, the DSTV NC, that is widely used, but it has also some limitations. And therefore we had this aim to bring DSTV into IFC. The idea was also to have a bidirectional information flow, not only from IFC or from a format into the machine. We need also the information from the machine for next steps. And that was then the target. We transfer DSTV NC to IFC based on the work we have already with EM11. Here's a short example of DSTV. What are the advantages? We have a format which is widely used in industry. We have a format which is, let's say, easy to implement, and it's well defined. But we also have some shortcomings. It's only unidirectional. It's not so easy to extend that format. The standard itself is an ASCII standard. It's not so easy to read these by a machine. And as well, it's not Unicode. It's an old format, so if we have Chinese or Russian characters, we cannot transfer them. So that's the reason why we have started with the steel fabrication view. And the first was we want to have the latest version of IFC, of course. The former definition was based on IFC 2x3. So we jumped to IFC 4. The concept was to use IFC as it is and not to extend the schema, just use existing entities and place all information in property sets. So we have defined some extra property sets. We will see some of them, and everything is based and harmonized with the existing definition from EM11. So what have we done now? Really main focus on DSTV to the machinery. Here an example of voiding features. We have notches, we have cutouts, and we have drill holes, for example, and we are not using IFC opening element. We're using another entity which already has predefined types that are very helpful for us. Then also a very important part is we need an exact positioning for the machinery. So we have to define extra local placements based on IFC annotations. We have defined or developed this concept. And with this step, we were also able to introduce tolerances within this process that's completely new compared to DSTV. And we also had some looks into the future and added some new features, for example, signatures used for welding positions or maybe texts which are during the fabrication process printed on steel components. And we also did some further definitions, for example, surface treatment, everything what is related to the fabrication process, then as well the fasteners, and also mechanical fasteners are here taken into consideration. Yes, the current status is available already on bSDD. You can see here the web interface of bSDD. And one example, bSDD not only is this web interface, if you're a bit familiar with that standard, you know there is an API. And here an example with our application to access this API and use this information directly in our software tool. Then very important, of course, for the final steps to come into the practice is to validate the data. If we get any data from CAD systems, we have to analyze this data. And we have different buildingSMART standards. We have IDS, and we have a former standard MVD-XML. The plan is to use IDS if we can use it. So for property sets, it's okay, no problem. For entities, to identify the correct entities, it's also not a problem. But the blue ones here, we are at the moment not able to go deeper into the structure of IFC and analyze local placements, geometries. So all the processes are only possible if we have extruded bodies, if we have parametric profiles. This information can we check with MVD-XML. And here on the right-hand side, we have an example for that. In a very early stage, we already defined a demonstrator workflow and have realized that coming from CAD steel. In that case, we took data from Tekla structure. We had to extend that data manually for our demonstrator process. Then we have checked the data with our software. We put the data into product planning software. And then the last step was fully automatically the generation of an extra IFC file, which could be understood by the machinery. And we have realized that here with Kaltenbach machine, a sawing machine on the right-hand side, and here you can see the production planning software from Behringer. The conclusion, we could show and demonstrate that it is possible to realize this step from IFC to the machinery. And we have realized this step to bring DSTV into the IFC. What's the next step? we are not at the end. There's a lot of work to be done now. So hopefully we can create a final version of the bSDD within the next month. We will see for our part. And then the definition of the property sets based on IDS. The extended rules based on the MVD XML, we already have started with that. And the most important part, we need the software implementation. We could show we have an early implementation by Behringer. So now we need more. And for that, on 13th of November, there is a meeting from Bauforum Stahl in Düsseldorf, where we are contacting before the software companies. And if we have software companies here, please come to me, contact me. And at that meeting, focus is on implementation of this workflow. Thank you. And again, the members working very hard on this topic. Thank you.
All right, any questions?
Thank you for this, sorry. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. And one question is like, when you showed this with the coordinate system, I mean, one is like to define it for the component, but the other is like on software side, or when we have like the coordinate system is turned between different softwares and we need to kind of import it. Have you there any experience how you kind of solve it then if X and Y is kind of turned?
Yeah, take a microphone.
Yeah. For the last step from the production planning software to the machinery, a specific IFC file is defined. So that's not directly comparable to IFC used in the CAD systems before. So there, the transformations will be prepared and the additional informations are stored within the new file.
And you do this automatically, or is there
Yes, yes. No, that's done automatically, yeah.
You also can check, of course, documentation for IFC schema for IFC local placements.
Okay.
You can find some examples as well. And for sure, examples on GitHub as well from buildingSMART. It's GitHub buildingSMART slash buildingSMART.
Yeah.
Thank you. The example that you showed was an extrusion of a cross section, but are you also considering different shapes that are geometrically represented, different profiles, and also voids alongside the profile, and especially bent profiles in the geometrical context that we need this geometrical representation also in IFC to get proper geometrical representation.
Different shapes?
A profile might start with a one height and might end at a different height.
Yes. Yeah. That's part of the IFC specification, and yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah.
I can help you. There is a IFC profile def. There's a really good description of IFC profile def. You can go to schema. There is different profile definitions that you can follow. And of course, it is not many implemented that one. That's what we realized, right? That was the main problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that originally EM11 could do about 80% of the job, and it's the last 20% that is usual in these projects. What specifically was it that the EM11 couldn't handle? Was it manufacturing operations, geometry representation?
Geometry representation was a tough part of it, and we had a kind of, we came up with a camel, which was a horse by committee, as they always say. And we were really, one of the examples we could give was we were really struggling with complex end cuts, which are rare. You know, a complex end cut on a beam that might have some interesting geometry or some interesting radius. And what we came up with, well, in these cases, we could make an exception and we could say you can do a boundary rep instead of an extrusion, which was rushed, to be nice. That was probably not the best solution we came up with. And at the time, we were also arguing quite a bit and struggling with tapered section. The tapered geometry was one that we were struggling with. And then voids at the time were super tricky as well. A hole to represent a bolt placement was not as clean as we had hoped it would be. And then a couple final other just real, like what should be real simple, but plain geometry disputes about, a length and width and depth of a plate, for example, which one was coming first and how this is represented. So we had some really, we were under minor pressure to kind of get this figured out eventually. And because of that, I think we took some, not shortcuts, but we made some compromises that we would rather have fixed. And I think this addresses a lot of that.
Okay. Any other questions? No? On to timber. Yeah.
So, we have to, okay. I will steal the mic. Yeah.
By all means, because I'm not allowed to talk about that.
It's fine. Okay. So now timber. What's the difference between timber and steel? I guess there are many similarities, really, especially in the field of prefabrication. Well, they were all asking question how we can bring that into our field. So the inspiration was, of course, steel construction. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We continue the same way. There are many similarities. At the national level, I mean, at the bSDD Germany, we run campaign, let's say, initiative, and we applied together with other member organizations project that was funded by federal ministry, and we prepared, of course, together with our partners, project partners, project proposal, which was luckily accepted. And of course, that was the main point, how you bring that idea of prefabrication and the timber construction. So you, like I already mentioned, don't reinvent the wheel, use the same methods what you already have, plus profit from the IFC schema. So everyone wants to have IFC at the end. So we need to check what already supported. And as you can see, we have some soft this time, also the same way like Andreas mentioned, software vendors, machinery, and organizations, especially organizations related to timber construction. And of course, they bring their knowledge. So they worked so far on IDM previously. Difference between steel construction, we had MVD previously, so they have IDM luckily, but that IDM should be updated according to our needs in the area of openBIM, and you have to adapt or improve that process or optimize processes and deliver proper schema at the end. So it means you need to check what currently buildingSMART supports, and we have, of course, our full spectrum of standards and services. In that case, we have IDS, we have bSDD, IFC 4.3, and IFC 4. Of course, many companies still using IFC 2.3, so you are open to do everything and support all requirements, or at least address all requirements of industry. In that case, see that the project plan where we're currently standing, and it's now, we worked on optimization of IDM, information delivery manual, ideas. So there is a process map, you have to optimize that. We have exchange requirements. There are mainly actually new properties. And not so many differences. So there are properties missing. And of course, the same way, like Andreas mentioned, tricky parts of voidings, openings that you will need to cut or prepare with your machinery in the factory. We're talking about prefabrication, right? So you need to go through that steps and prepare all that exchange requirements. And exchange requirements should be mapped with IFC. And currently what we're going through is that step is almost done, that IFC mapping for that part. As you can see, just an extract, as you can see, we have walls, sorry, in German. So we have walls, classical, what kind of wall? They have inner walls, plumbing walls, let's say, external, internal walls. Well, not many know that external, internal wall in IFC is just, actually, it's a property. It's a real property. It's IFC, if you check IFC class or entity IFC wall, you'll go to a property set called pset wall common. You will find out, wow, there is a property called is external, and that's a Boolean, so it means it's a true or false, and you just prepare in your IDS, in your MVD, whatever, specific, let's say, class still can be called external wall, but it will be specifically defined in bSDD with that property being mandatory. So you have that. You can also do the same thing for IDS. So it's just an example. We have identified many properties that actually already cover with IFC schema, just some attributes, difference between attributes and properties, right? You know that. Attribute name, that's attribute, it's not property. Attribute GUID as a global identification, so you also have that. And so on, description, and some cases, of course, you need to have fire safety. Well, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have fire safety in IFC schema also as a part of manufacturer information. Well, that's even better described in the schema. It's a pset manufacturer occurrence or pset manufacturer information. They go through, and there's information of a manufacturer, when it was, including assembly-related property sets. You go to assembly, so it's when it was installed, when they were fabricated, was it fabricated on site, was it fabricated, or it was fabricated in the factory. And the factory means, so you can definitely define everything. What you cannot define, so maybe some new properties with left question marks. So you have to check, and the mapping in IFC is the most essential thing. That's what we did in previous projects, and we went through requirements, and what was missing, we pushed into bSDD as a dictionary. And what's the interesting thing here, you have a chance to introduce a classification. Still, very important step, classification, doesn't matter which one, should be mapped with IFC. We don't need any dead-end classification that everyone will be assigning to any model through bSDD APIs, and at the end, if you don't map it, the machine, in that case, CAD software will realize, oh, okay, we have a default thing, it will be again building element proxies, and we have a whole bunch of building element proxies classified according to bSDD, but we should avoid that one. Try to find out if you have a counterpart in IFC schema, please introduce that in bSDD. We have a previous session, and you have seen many examples so far. You can check the recording in case if you want. So They also have on the timber construction is really famous, like DSFL already mentioned, SCS2 examples. They also have their own schema, BTLX schema, and just an example how it looks like. Well, it's nothing new here. You see members, you see studs here, you see bracing units, you see layers, especially layer. Well, you can cover that with IFC, especially elements like beams and columns. Well, in assembly, you will not find beams and columns. They called members, and they usually it's covered with IFC member, and you have posts and mullions and IFC member post, IFC member mullion, IFC member. Or you go to even deeper if you want to have an assembly in that case. You have maybe some different parts. And what's interesting, if you go to IFC element assembly, you have trusses here, girder, English. So girders, deck, especially deck, if you're the platforms, building a platform, or in that case, not many know that even a classical wall has really interesting predefined type called elemented wall. And that's what you can see now. That's elemented wall. Still defined in BTLX schema, it's completely different world, but we can cover that. We can address that. We can deliver that. So it means in elemented wall, you have IFC members. As you can see the layer in the right and middle. That's what you have. IFC member, post, IFC member, and you can see those mullions bracing units. What we also have, this OSB sheet, which is, or plate, in that case, covered with IFC. You can cover it. That's a point now you have to discuss with experts, domain experts. Do you want to cover that with IFC plate, like a sheet, or you can cover that with the help of IFC covering. IFC covering, that is also possible. It's also really possible because in some cases, this is an insulated wall. Let's say it's an insulated wall. So it means between those studs, you probably have any kind of insulation like glass wall, mineral wall, or some other material, insulation material. How you model that in the IFC? You can use any different classes. For, let's say, you also have exterior insulation, then you can also use IFC covering with predefined type insulation, by the way. So it means exterior insulation going further. We have a layer of inner and outer case. So it means outer case will be cladding, like siding, I don't know, some kind of wood sheeting and so on. So you have siding in that case. You put siding in such a way that you simply use that IFC standards, existing ones. And this is extract from IFC schema. You don't reinvent the wheel. We have, in that case, sorry for the in German part, we can translate to explain it. But as you can see, this, if schema says we can't do that, why you cannot do that in the real project? That's a point that we are addressing now. And next step will be checking all that. As soon as mapping finished, we will try to check bSDD for existing dictionaries from other domains. Of course, building domain and then running projects. There are many timber-related projects. Simply harmonize them and say if it meets our requirements. Now I'm checking, showing you example of bSDD. Write down a wood. Just take simply keyword wood, timber, whatever, and you can define which dictionary you want to check. First, let's check what's currently in IFC schema. In that case, we have only two things related to wood: is a pset material material wood, or wood-based structure. That's in IFC schema. You can apply it into your model, in that case through bSDD APIs, or you go even deeper, write simply timber and check not only IFC schema, but others as dictionaries, let's say Uniclass, or you can see A-Team also have some timber-related properties and classes. So still, in some other cases, I've seen dictionaries could have, of course, many requirements. And I remember one requirement was related to hazardous materials, and there was really good example of that published in bSDD, given I guess a winner of BSI Awards from 2024. And as you can see, that dictionary is as an example, and you can see you can use bSDD as a single source of truth, put that information to IDS, and maybe you can use it as a basis for your IDS creation and for your industry. Yeah, with that point, that's what we are currently facing and currently doing, and I hope we will report next time more on that thing. And the openings that Andreas mentioned and Luke mentioned about the difficulties, they also have manufacturing, so it means they also have to deal with exactly the same things, markings, annotations, maybe logos, company, because they really like to stamp some things on the beams, on the structural parts. So it means you also need to cut openings, especially for MEP parts, like cables going through. So that thing will be also done exactly the same way, like steel construction together with IFC avoiding feature. Yeah, with that, I'm concluding my part.
Okay, good. Questions at all on the timber construction at all? Anyone? Or we could go back to steel too, either, if you forgot something. No? Okay. All right. Well, we will segue then into the town hall portion of the meeting. So the town hall is just sort of a format that other domains use to gather feedback and encourage engagement with the building domain. You know, we're looking for feedback from what kind of pain points or ideas that other chapters have throughout the buildingSMART community. Are they common? Can we address them at the international level? What are organizations doing? So this is a chance to provide that kind of information to the international committee. And I should note that I'm David Ivey. I'm the chair of the Building Domain Steering Committee. So how can we better grow the domain and meet the needs of the other domains and the people that are doing projects in them? So there's a couple of ways that you can obviously participate in the domain. One is through sponsorship, one is through membership, and then partnership. Maybe your company wants to partner with buildingSMART International. The buildingSMART forum is still very active. There's a link here, so if you download this presentation later or look at it later, you can always head over to the forum and provide feedback and input there. And participation in the steering committee. And I would note that the steering committee, we're down a few slots, so we are going to be holding elections for new membership on the steering committee. We're expanding also the steering committee to 12. So we've got 6 open spots. We'll probably send out the call for candidates by the end of October of this year. And then voting will begin hopefully in the beginning of 2026, and we'll elect 6 people and bring them into the steering committee, hopefully in time for Porto in Portugal. You can vote for up to 6 different candidates to fill these positions if you're a buildingSMART member or if your firm is a member. And the representatives of the full chapters have double votes, meaning each vote counts twice, right? So votes for representative chapters, members have single votes, meaning their vote counts once. So pretty straightforward. And then there'll be a background description for all of the candidates who are vying for the open positions on the steering committee. A little bit about what's going on in the building domain right now. These are some of the active projects we have here. If you were at BD1, we talked a little bit about the fire safety engineering IDS and the fire safety engineering. Very good, well-attended sessions. We also have an MEP bill of quantities and an asset operation handover project that are in various stages of completion going through the BSI process. And then again, just a wrap of what we did this week. We had BD1, which is the comprehensive openBIM workflow. Mirbeck was there talking about all that. We had our demonstration telling the energy retrofit of a non-residential building. We've done this sort of high school play type thing where we have someone being the owner, someone being the architect, someone being the constructor, and of course our technical expert helping us through the BSI process or the BCF process, using that for a non-residential building to address leaky windows. Right, that's what we did this year. And then BD2 was the fire safety and fire safety engineering openBIM, as well as the Internet of Things, IoT, and their Smart Buildings project update. And then that brings us to today where we did steel construction, timber construction, and this town hall session. So at this point, I would just open it up for anybody who wants to online or here add any input, ideas they have for the building domain, questions they might have for anybody on the steering committee. Mirbeck and I are both on the steering committee. Jan Anders is also here from the steering committee. So this is your time to input anything that you like or not. So questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? Anything online, Laura?
I can add with some. If are you familiar with the building domain roadmap? We also red map. We have if Laura can share our site on if you go to buildingSMART.org, there are all domains listed, and within domain you will see if you're really new here, so you should have a context of what building domain does.
That's a really good point.
So we have a roadmap there, and the roadmap says what building domain does. So it means it meets it addresses all questions and requirements from industry. It means we try to cover all that interesting topics, or not an interesting like hot spot topics, especially in area. Now, as you can see, steel construction, that was exactly the same example. Fire safety, because we had even fire safety after Grenfell Tower, right? That was the first case when it was initiated. And we thought, like, okay, then we can address that. That was a really disaster. In London, you remember, it was a couple of years ago. And
many years ago.
Many years ago. So we had the chance to address that one. And it means your topics, your, I would also, requirements, your issues, your wish, not the wish that we'll simply cover anything, but your industry is facing maybe some difficulties, and you need to cover that and address that within this domain. So it's your chance. Take your chance. We have a charter and we have a roadmap. In roadmap, we at least identified potential, if you can share that, Laura, we have a potential list of topics that we actually wish and we expect in this domain. You remember we had a list of current on the ongoing or completed projects. Example of them, I can say, building energy modeling. That was a technical report. It's completed now. That's what now we're trying, like we're already implementing, let's say. We had a project for prefabrication and or precast project. It's final standard as IDM published and as MVD. We had a project in IFC spatial zones that was published as a final standard, in that case of a technical report. Yeah, technical report. If you're not familiar what's IFC spatial zone, we had the example of secure zones. Are you familiar with a secure zone? No-go areas. Like imagine, and we have a project, by the way, in factory planning, and there is a factory, there are places that you are not allowed to step in, right? So you can't plan that area. Some of experts use IFC space, which is a little bit tricky because you need to have enclosed area doors. But what you can have with IFC spatial zone, just put some simple geometry, map it with IFC spatial zone, and say secure, don't step in. That's a dangerous area. That's where area of manufacturing. Secure zone for, we had a session today at infrastructure domain related to T&D, transmission, distribution, high and medium voltage power. Well, there are overhead lines, imagine that, and overhead lines, you all know that you have to keep a distance. Or you're going to a substation, there's a transformer building, you have to keep at least, as I remember, 1 meter distance to that. Even not even in that area, different areas, let's say, fall protection. So you can use everything. So that kind of simple project, but very important life-saving project, was developed within building domain. And now it's your chance. Anything that you would like to address? Yes, please. So now we opened the, let's say, broke the ice.
Hi, Anna. Anna speaking. I'm working in the product domain, or I'm working for manufacturer like elevators. And just the examples you said, or I mean, we are also producing IFC models, and we are using IFC spatial zones, for example, security for security areas, or we have also special areas in front of our controllers. We're also a special lighting needs to be, and I think this could also be kind of use cases or kind of a handshake between our domains. We talked also yesterday shortly about how to use the spatial. And we have always this topic of vertical, like the shaft or the well or inside the building, and normally then you need to cut it. And sometimes we have also really strange requests that a customer wants to see the elevator car in each floor, so that this is also pictured automatically on each floor level on the plans on the 2D side. But like, of course, we don't have 7 cars within a well. So this is, I think there we could, kind of do a collaboration. I think also in the direction of the digital product passport, which is also going in the direction of the building passport. I see really some opportunities, and you have really nice use cases, or why I think it would be nice to also have your requirements, or like what do you need also from us as a manufacturer.
Anyone want to comment?
No,
I would like to add, that's what we discussed yesterday. There's a really international project and national together with buildingSMART and buildingSMART Germany and VDI. It's VDI is a German Association of Engineers. We had a chance to work. The committee had a chance to work on specifics of elevator planning. And there was one really tricky part that was addressed, by the way, within one of our working groups called occupant movement analysis. Mm-hmm. That was recently endorsed by all committees so far, and we had it is published, by the way, on use case management as a use case. It's published. Also as ideas, that is a standard you can use, download it, and simply implement it. And we have that it was a IDM, I guess, published as a recommendation. We run the project team runs 3 cases, and we had to consult with them, or at least they consult and report us within the steering committee and technical team, asking what we have to do with that elevator shaft, or how we can solve that problem. We analyzed 3 cases. The project team analyzed 3 cases, Asim and Peter and all others. What would be potential benefits and negative sides of using this and that entity in IFC schema? Outcome. The first recommendation that we used in technical report for IFC spatial zone was still valuable, but there were some limits. One limit was, using IFC spatial zone as an elevator shaft to map elevator shaft was semi-good in that case. You were not able to see boundaries. You will not be able to see elevator car, where currently which elevator you can place at. Third case requirements as boundaries, right? So it's exactly need. Has a door opening somewhere, on which floor, and so on. Then we came across was a build system that was also possible. It had some, I don't remember which negative sides of using that. So that was another recommendation to use a classical way. See, it is a room after all. So we simply came back to IFC space, mapped it with IFC space, but there had to be each floor separate space. And but you need to build the whole thing, like elevator shaft, it should be a shaft. So you need to simply group them together and with IFC zone, because you can cover it with IFC zone, and IFC you can apply as a, and of course it can be this system. So you need a chance to say this is as a part of these spaces. Those spaces are part of a whole zone and the whole elevator shaft. That's what is an example, and I can say recommendation from our side, lessons learned, better use IFC space, but that was a different story because we have space in that real room. But if you don't have a room in that case, like outside area, transportation area, overhead lines, you will not be able to create a room between two let's say high voltage pylons here and say this is my secure area. That will be difficult, and that's what IFC spatial zone does.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for this technical discussion. I think from product perspective, or I would say we really need this handshake because, for example, like a German case, or we have the VDI 11 or the 2552 11.5, like elevator planning in like for this requirements. And there, for example, or we have still described it with the IFC spatial zone, and this would also be some technical expertise I would love to or include also in this VDI work. And also on international level, we have the ISO 8110 now in a draft, which is also describing like the requirements on depending on the loin standard for elevator planning. And I mean, there we switched already to IFC space, but like I would say some details, what you just described, are not fully covered. And I would really love to kind of do the handshake and also cover your needs that at the end are both like in profit in this process.
It's a general comment, but I welcome it. I think overlap between the domains is one of the most important types of sessions that we can have. We've had sessions with the infrastructure room, with the regulatory room, hopefully with the product room and electrical, whatever it is. But, you know, buildings are sort of a common denominator among all the different domains. And so I think we serve the BSI community more fully when we interact with one another and talk about how all these things interrelate, because none of these domains are really just silos, right? I mean, they're all interconnected. So, yeah, I think whatever you can come up with Mirbeck is great. But if anybody in any domain from here is thinking about sessions in the future for Portugal or out further, you know, come to us or reach out to Mirbeck or myself or Jan Anders or anybody, and we'll set something up. We'll set up a call and figure out how we can move forward together. So
let's go. We can at least open the. So if you want,
what do you want to do?
I want to show. Yeah, let's go. Let's go through building domain. So you have on domain page, you will find us. So we have a building domain within the building domain subpage. You will see our charter and roadmap. Please check that one if something is missing and you want to extend that. You will find our contacts as well. And building domain itself.
I was just going to mention that the roadmap is sort of a living document,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's something that we want people to review and look at and offer commentary on so that we can change it as we move forward so that it meets the needs of the domain and the larger community.
Yeah, thank you, David. So you have seen that even called building room should be updated somewhere. So that's a point. You have a chance now to be part of it. You can bring your ideas, bring your topics, and that's what I'm currently scrolling to, because we have some potential topics to come or to discuss. That's what we are currently having. The BA room current projects, some of them are, let's say, in on hold, or let's say will be revived somewhere, like Operation Handover, or the project that we had georeferencing. Georeferencing was actually already published as an IDM really long ago. And then some other examples. I see this asset up. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we can see examples that was not. It's not limited to this. The targeted topics, steel construction is already there, timber construction could potentially come, prefabrication could cover as a general topic for timber and steel construction, building and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, electrical, I would say, as now in the area of BSI electrical domain, so we don't have to. So you see, it should be updated. So we need to work on next factory planning, laboratory planning. We have at the buildingSMART Germany, we have national working groups. That's how we bring people, experts, like here in steel construction, collaborating with international ones. And Andreas is representing one of our joint working groups. And as you can see, scaffolding, fall protection. I'm sure the fall protection as a Swiss chapter, I guess, was that time where I had even use case published. Structural engineering was initiated, you remember, was an Italian chapter. Started they will do an activity proposal. We are still waiting for that. That's a message for Italian chapter. And then you can see tendering, interior architecture, hospital construction. Hospital construction is really good thing, and they have their own potential domain now. But still, plan was that they will land in our domain as a working group, but it doesn't matter. They're working on new project proposal, I guess, and that's the point. We will work on DFMA, design for manufacturer assembly. That's what actually was really interested and initiated by Richard Kelly and Birgitta Schock, and there are all others who. Yeah.
They're looking at producing a white paper.
Yeah, exactly. So you have, as you can see, rough orientation. Please keep it as a rough orientation. If you have something like space building, I don't know, in the space building, in this case, not spacecraft building or space construction areas has also buildings, right? Like temporary buildings can run that project, let's say. Or that's what we usually cover, maybe mechanical, but in that case we have now activity proposal. The project was yesterday presented by also experts on IoT, and we have a white paper coming somewhere. So you're welcome to do the same thing. Bring your activity proposal, bring experts, funding, and of course be sponsors. Or if you already have a chapter, you can simply collaborate, bring your ideas and say, let's, those two chapters bringing ideas together like we did in the past with a steel construction. So anything from your side, any questions, any wishes now, maybe we can continue that same way.
Yeah?
Vanessa?
Hi, I'm Vanessa from the Singapore chapter. I'm curious to know, Merbek, you mentioned that you have national working groups and you bring them into the domain discussions. How do you channel that conversation and organize it so that you focus everybody's attention on maybe one particular project?
Well, that's sometimes other way around. They come to us as a member and they say, we want to address this topic. We check, first of all, that's what our job, to say, actually, we already have one working group at the international level. Yeah, we have national building domain, like buildingSMART Germany has a building domain, Hochbau, Arbeitsraum Hochbau, and it has some working groups. Or let's say, other association coming us as a corporation asking, can we cover this topic? And we check if we have that working group at the international level at BSI. If not, we can initiate. You initiate activity proposal. First, we need to open, I guess, BSI process. Give me a second. Here is a BSI process. As you can see, you start with initiation. Any idea? Let's say we will build rockets. It's just exaggerating, right? Rockets. So what we need to do, we need to have a rocket association. Maybe they are doing that, and we have some rocket building association, and we have experts who really knows the domain experts. We need domain experts and some maybe software vendors who would support that, who are interested in implementing IFC, but still have some difficulties. And we may have some maybe government association that really want to foster it and support it. Feel free. And clients, right? Clients like NASA. I will not name any ESA, NASA, and all organizations that they will be operating that and using that, right? So we need to think about further steps as well. All that stakeholders come together and say, okay, that's what our current state, those are our issues or challenges, and we want openBIM. We want to implement openBIM method. Especially, we want to use IFCs. We want to have our clear classification, like bSDD, using in bSDD. That's like fuselage. There is spoilers. That's our engines, and those are our, let's say, how to call it? I don't know, boosters, and that's all our entities that unfortunately not covered in IFC, but we can use some energy conversion devices, IFC energy conversion device, we can use that, and so we can map them, we can help to find a proper entity in IFC schema, bring that as a classification to bSDD, bring that, but it will be work done later. But first work, you need to work on activity proposal, saying how you want to achieve that work. Usually it's really in a classical way, capture domain requirements or industry requirements and address what openBIM does for you, right? You can check what standards will come across, standards and services, and they're really known now. And the next step, come to building domain. You come to building with domain with a topic. We will check that maybe it will be first simple presentation, right? You don't have to work directly on an activity proposal. You initiate that, you show your pain points, you provide us some challenges and show how could we potentially solve it. And then the call for participation will start. The work on activity proposal will start, and that's an incubation phase. As you can see, engagement there. Within the incubation phase, we will have to, of course, coordinate with other chapters, saying, as a minimum requirement, you need 2 chapters, by the way, because you cannot simply come with one country and say, that's what we do, and that will be international standard. You usually need some recommendations from SCTE in the past that we need to have even 2 continents, at least 2 chapters from 2 continents. Like, let's say with American, we did with steel construction. And you have the more involvement, the better. So in more chapters, the better, and more organizations, the better. We, let's say, achieved the step of detailed project proposal. Of course, it means detailed project, you secure funding, you have detailed scope, you have clear goals and, let's say, milestones, and you would know when you will be delivering that. You start, as soon as it's approved, you start working on deliverables, on work packages. And we have next step in the development, and then it will be, of course, run several steps of improvement, and finally it will be standard. That's how we do.
And maybe
I
a
hope it's
follow-up question to that is, you mentioned funding as well. In what cases do we need funding for a certain type of project, and in what circumstances will it be entirely volunteer-led?
No.
Okay, I will take over. I'll have. Okay, funding. There are two types of way how you can fund it. Let's say as a chapter, you're representing your chapter, and so you say we have already working group that many experts doing. So you do it already in a way in kind funding. So you don't have to necessarily bring your. If you bring experts who will be dedicated and travel by their own means in that case, and will not ask for money, but bring their knowledge, because knowledge is also asset, right? Knowledge and expertise, it's also fun. But of course, money should be needed for some organization meeting, like we did in a transmission distribution project, power transmission distribution project. We need to have a presence meeting. And we did it in Frankfurt. We met with many experts. So Frankfurt, you need to organize a place, venue, you need to organize catering, you need to organize yourself, your work time somehow, and travel costs and so on. That all should also be captured in the detailed project proposal later on, saying at least that will be covered within the chapter or some member organization and so on. I guess, David?
No, I was going to say that money's really important, but notice Mirbek said you do this. And I think another really critical component to all of this is having a dedicated project manager, right? So someone who's driving the bus and can help coordinate all the activities that need to take place, and help, to the degree that they can, secure funding and things like that from third parties, et cetera. So I think that's just as important as money, is having a project manager on the project. Because a lot of times people have ideas, but they don't necessarily want to run them, or they don't have funding for them. So ideas are great, but and sort of the lifeblood, but without proper funding and without proper management, then they sort of don't get done. All that list of things.
Yeah, there is a well-known project management triangle. You have, I guess you remember that one. Yeah. You have no funds, so it means you have to count that your project will last a little bit longer. You have money, but you don't have knowledge. It will also last longer. And you have both, and it will really be quick, and you can reach your goals very fast. So that's why we always recommend secure funding, and you will definitely be sure that your project will be finished on time and in quality. Thank you, Vanessa. I hope we answered your question. Any further ideas and questions, feedback as well? You're welcome to address anything. So that's our wrapping up, right?
Yeah,
today.
I think that's, we can. I don't think we need to belabor it. We've got.
I have one thing. 12 minutes, but what we also have. You remember a discussion about next summits, and of course so we always open for new topics. So it means you can also propose it as a next summit session, but that's what will be new. We need to improve topics for sessions, because we usually give secure places for, of course, our current projects usually have place in our domain sessions. But if outside world, not directly involved in buildingSMART, would like to present something, there is a call for papers. New initiative that buildingSMART International running. So you have a chance to propose your topic, And if it will be accepted, of course, it will be part of not directly a part of a domain project, the domain session, but if you do it earlier and you sign us and waive us, we have something interesting and we solved some interesting problems that you potentially can cover. Feel free to address that topic and contact us, and we will, of course, we don't decide alone. We do it together with coordinators. Our coordinators, John and Laura, and John will definitely help us addressing that within any steering committee meeting that we are always reviewing. So all will be done in our community. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up. We'll give you 10 minutes back to your day. You can get down and get early lunch.